Hi, welcome back. This is a basic introduction to the WordPress backend editor, also known as Visual Composer. Visual Composer has both a backend and a frontend editor. The difference is the backend editor is what you use here on your WordPress edit page screen. So I'm starting out with just a blank WordPress page, and I'm going to click on Backend Editor right here under the Visual Composer symbol. Now you'll see that I have a backend editor. All it wants you to do is just add an element. So I'm going to click on Add an Element. You'll see that the first element I'm going to add is a row. In general, on the web, things are composed in rows and columns. First, you break everything down by various rows, and then you break things down by columns. So here we have a standard row. Now, since this is a home page, and with a lot of other theme templates, this initial row is going to go edge to edge on your browser window. So frequently what we do is we put a row inside that to contain your actual content. That way your content goes from about here to about there instead of all the way touching the edge. Now, depending on the theme that you are using, you are most likely going to need to make some edits to this inside row to tell it to be inside of the big row. The particular theme that I'm using wants you to put in a class name. Different themes will want you to put in different items. So now what I'm going to do is I've got one row. I'm going to duplicate it. I just click on this clone symbol. You can clone any element in Visual Composer just by clicking on the clone symbol. So I'm going to do 3 rows. And to differentiate them, I am going to edit them. All you do is you click on the nice little pencil on any element to edit it. Now, most elements will have some initial options as well as some design options. So in this case, this is a row element. You can add classes, IDs, you can do parallax backgrounds, you can do video backgrounds, a whole bunch of different options. I won't get into the lot of detail on any of them because this is an overview. If you have not already looked at my video on the CSS box model for what the heck this whole thing is, please go look at the CSS box model. I'm not going to cover it right now. What I am going to do is I'm just going to add some padding here. It's just going to make it easy to see. I'm going to add a background color. Click on Save. Now that I've added a background, you'll see a small circle here that has appeared. That's because I put a background on it. I'm now going to edit this row down here. Again, just click on the little edit symbol. I'm going to go to Design Options. I'm not going to make this one quite as big. And I'm going to make it a little darker gray. Just for the heck of it, I'm just trying to show you some options. And then this row here, I am going to put an image as the background. I happen to have an image handy. And once I've selected my image, I can decide how it will look. In this case, I'm going to use cover. Cover is one of the most common options for a background. The other most common option is repeat. Repeat is if you have a pattern, a repeating pattern. There are a lot of them available online from websites such as subtlepatterns.com. But cover is the most common. And again, I'm going to give it some padding so that you can actually see the image. Click on Save. And now you'll notice that I have a little image symbol. Another thing that I can do if I want to make this really fancy is I can turn on Parallax. If I turn on Parallax for the row, it will ask me to put in the image separately. Click on Set Image, and then come over here to Design and remove that image. Again, this is if you want a parallax background. You will see in a moment what parallax looks like. You'll notice that you don't actually get the cute little picture symbol here. Now, of course, rows aren't going to be a whole lot of interesting stuff unless I put something in them. So I'm going to put a text block in. The text block comes pre-filled with some text. I'm just going to leave that text alone. But look what I can do. I can clone a text block. I can grab it. You can grab it anywhere in this front section with the arrow. I can grab it and I can move it down. Sometimes it gets a little grumpy about how it gets moved. There we go. This will depend on which version you're using, which browser you have, a whole bunch of other variables. There we go. So now I've got 3 text blocks, but that's a little boring. So let's make a couple more text blocks, and let's divide this into thirds. Now, by default, it comes with a number of different row layout options. Again, to get here to the row layout options, I hover over this and then I click on Custom. This gives you the predefined options. You'll see you can do quarters, you can do thirds, and as I click each of these options, you'll notice that the layout down here changes. But I can also put in custom options. For example, let's say I wanted to use sixths and then make this 2/3. Click on Update and you'll see that it updates for those. Now, how this works is this is divided into 12 columns, so I can use any multiple of 12 that I want. I cannot use fifths because fifths does not work in 12ths. If you're having a little difficulty with all the math, one of the easier things to do is just to convert everything into 12ths. So I got 2/12 at the beginning, 2/12 at the end, 2 + 2 is 4, 12 - 4 is 8. Sometimes that can be a little bit easier as you start getting into more and more of the different layouts. But for the moment, I'm just going to use thirds. All right, I'm just going to grab the block, put it in. If I want to add a block before it, let's say I'm just going to put a separator line in before it. Well, since I happen to be using a gray box here, I'm going to put the orange line. And because I want it to be visible, I'm going to make it a 5 pixel high. And let's put something on the bottom of it as well. I'll put a button there. Again, I have a gray background, so I'm going to use a different color button. Not going to bother actually configuring the button at the moment. I just want to add some text in here so it looks a little bit different. So now I've got rows, columns. I'm going to click on Update, and the page is now updated. And now all I need to do is go to View It, and here we are. Here is the page, and now you'll see that the background here of these stars, it moves a little bit. So the star down here, it was up here, now it's down there. It's subtle. You can speed up the parallax effects, use different types of images to make it a little easier to see. But you'll see that I've got the orange line, the text block, black button. You see that it's divided into thirds. You'll see that the text does not actually go edge to edge because I put a row inside another row. But let me show you a couple other fun things that you can do with just basic layouts. Right now I'm just trying to show you about some basic layouts that can be done. So now you can remove something by clicking on the trash can. I'll leave the button there. But something fun that you can do is I am going to make this only half the width. That's it, just half the width. The other half would be completely empty. And I'm going to go ahead and change this background color a little bit, just so it's something different than the row above it. Not because I have any particular desire to use different colors, it's just I want to make sure that you can clearly see the differences. Click on Update again. And then we'll just reload this page. Here we are, and see now it only covers half of the window. But you can also do some other things. I'm going to now make this parent row into halves and make this child row full all the way across. That means I can add an element over here to the parent row, which will be quite large. So in this case, I'm going to add an image. You can use the search box up here to search. And I am going to make this image full-sized. You can change the default size here. And I happen to have a decent size image that I'm going to use. So I click on plus, drop the image in. There we go. Here's an image. Click on set. I'll now see my image here. I have it set to full size. I have image alignment, image style. If I would like to make this image clickable and have the image go somewhere when you click it, like a normal link, you can set it up here by just clicking on Open Custom Link. Open Pretty Photo, that means that it would open the photo in a lightbox. And of course you can use zoom and link to a large image. You can even add CSS animation if you'd like. So now we have a nice big image and text. So now we're going to go view the page. Just click on reload and here it is. So now you'll see that I have a text block over here and then an image that spans all the way over here. So there are a bunch of fun things that you can do using rows and columns. There are a whole bunch of different elements that you can add. You can easily add an element before or after your existing elements just by clicking the simple plus sign. And there are a whole bunch of different elements that you can use. Some of the options are elements added by plugins. For example, I have Contact Form 7 installed, so there is a specific element for Contact Form 7 because Contact Form 7 has chosen to integrate with Visual Composer and set up something for you. Not all plugins will have their own elements, but many will because this is the most popular visual page builder out there. Text block is your standard text block, just like using the visual or text editors in WordPress. You just drop this in and you get your normal editor. Icons, there are several different libraries supported. The basic horizontal lines. Text with a line on either side. This is basically just styled text. A little notification box, buttons for some of the popular social media services. Toggle elements, these are particularly nice because they hide the detailed content until you click on them. Single image, this is going to be one that you use a lot. Oops, didn't mean to add that. Image gallery, this allows you to put in several different images together. Image carousel, very similar to gallery, but it works in a carousel manner. A carousel has a left and a right button to advance through the carousel. Custom heading, this is if you want to do a pretty heading. Go button, this is a very popular element. Again, just like text block, an image, you're going to use the button a lot. A call to action block, this has text as well as a button included in it. Widgetize sidebar. Let's say you're building a page in Visual Composer and you would also like to have your standard widgets that you can access from Appearance. You want to use one of those widgetize sidebars in your page. Well, you just click on Widgetize Sidebar and select which sidebar you want to use. And it would pop the sidebar right in. Let's see, Post Slider. If you would like to have a slider featuring different ones of your posts, video player, if you want to embed a video from YouTube or Vimeo, Google Maps block, again, pretty popular element, raw HTML and JavaScript. If you have some very specific HTML or JavaScript code, for example, if you're using a mailing list signup and you have very specific code from them that you need to have inserted, you would use one of these two elements, whichever one's appropriate. Flickr widget, just again, it's like social media. Progress bar, pie chart, round chart, line chart. These just allow you to visually show data. Empty space. Try not to use this if you don't need to, but if you need to get some things to space out, you can use this empty space. Post grid, media grid, masonry grid. All of these allow you to make a grid of your different either posts or media items. The difference between a regular grid and a masonry grid, as you can see from this little icon, that a masonry grid allows things to not all be the same size. A media grid requires everything to be nice and the same size. And then you have several of your built-in WordPress widgets that you can use. These are exactly the same as you would see by going to Appearance and Widgets. The list available there and the list of the widgets that you can insert here with Visual Composer is the same. Frequently, third-party widgets, such as those created by plugins or themes, will not be available here on the Visual Composer ad. You would need to use a widgetized sidebar to add them in. So, the basics of Visual Composer are just knowing how to use rows and columns, and of course, understanding the box model. Click on Update to save your changes. You could also use the Frontend Editor, which is similar to this Backend Editor. You can access the Frontend Editor by clicking on this front end here, by clicking on the front end here, or by clicking on Edit with Visual Composer here. Okay, now we have the front-end editor loaded, and you'll notice as you hover over items, all these different edit blocks, edit symbols show up. You can clone things, edit things, delete things, add more things. It's very similar to the way the backend editor works. Some people prefer this because they can actually see things in real time right here. Other people, like me, don't like it. Frequently, if you're running on a shared hosting service, front-end editors tend to perform very poorly. Back-end editors tend to work much better. You have to be on pretty decent hosting in order to get front-end editors to behave properly. But again, it has an update just like the back-end editor does. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.